Before I tell you this, before I open the door to the memories I've locked away for half my life, you need to understand one thing. Some heartbreaks don't explode. They slow burn, quietly, silently, like a candle forgotten in a corner. Until one day you wake up, and all that's left is smoke, melted wax, and a room that doesn't smell like home anymore. What I'm about to tell you ain't just a story. It's the truth I swallowed for 45 years. The truth of a woman who raised everybody, but had nobody. My name's Evelyn May Carter, though folks usually call me Miss Evie. And this story, it starts on a Tuesday morning. Early, too early. The kind of morning when the cold sits on your skin like a warning. I was standing by my kitchen sink, staring at the cracked tile I'd been meaning to fix for years, when my phone buzzed. Not a ringtone. Not a text. Just a reminder I'd set for myself months ago. Call your kids. Try again. I'd tried yesterday. And the day before that. And the week before that. Every time the call went the same. Hey Mom, I'm kinda busy. Can I call you later? Of course, sweetheart. Love you. Love you more. They never called back. Funny thing is, I didn't even get mad anymore. That anger burned out a long time back. All I felt now was tired. Bone tired. Heart tired. Soul tired. I guess that's what happens when you spend your whole life giving pieces of yourself away like loose change. Well, I grew up in a tiny town outside Memphis, Tennessee. Back then, all I wanted was a family of my own. A loud, messy, chaotic home full of love, laughter, burnt toast, and muddy shoes. And I thought I found that when I met Thomas Carter. Tall, warm smile. Kind eyes. That man could charm a storm into sunny weather. When he asked me to marry him, I didn't say yes. I whispered it. Soft, hopeful. Like I was afraid the whole world would snatch the moment away. We had 3 kids, Josh, Daniel, and little Anna. And for years my life was packed lunches, scraped knees, school projects, sick nights, birthday cakes, and running on no sleep but still smiling. Everything I did, every breath I took, it was for them. People always say, kids grow up so fast. What they don't tell you is, they grow away even faster. By the time my youngest turned 18, I'd lost my husband, lost my parents, lost the last piece of my youth. And I didn't even notice myself disappearing. The kids left home one by one. And I kept thinking they'd come back the way they used to. Barging through the door, yelling, Mom, what's for dinner? But they didn't come. They called. Sometimes. They visited. Rarely. And slowly, painfully. The house that was once too loud became too quiet. Have you ever sat in silence so deep it sounded like grief? That was my every evening. I remember the exact day things broke inside me. I had slipped in my backyard, damn old stepping stones, and twisted my ankle so bad it swelled up like a balloon. Called Josh first. Hey baby, Mom's hurt. I need a ride to the clinic. Mom, today's tough. I've got meetings back to back. Maybe call Dan. Call Dan. Honey, I can't walk. Could you? I'm out of town, Mom. I'll check on you later. He didn't. I called Anna. My baby girl. The one I swore would never let go of me. Sweetheart. Can you come over? Please. He sighed. Mom, I've got a facial appointment. And after that, dinner with Logan's parents. You'll be fine, right? That was the day it hit me. I had raised 3 humans. Held them through storms. Nursed them from sickness. Sacrificed dreams, sleep, money, years. And when I needed one moment of help, had nobody. Not because I didn't love them. God knows I do. But because I finally accepted something I never wanted to face. I spent my whole life being a home for people who never saw me as theirs. And once you swallow that truth, your heart don't beat the same. I didn't stop loving them, that I just stopped expecting anything. Stopped waiting. Stopped hoping. Stopped dialing numbers that never dialed back. But life, funny as it is, wasn't done with me yet. 'Cause the same week I gave up, something changed. And that's where the real story begins. 3 days after I decided to stop calling my kids, something strange happened. I was sitting in my dim living room, lamp barely glowing, TV on low, the kind of silence that makes you feel older than your bones, when I heard it. Soft, gentle, almost hesitant. Froze. Nobody knocks on my door anymore. Mailman don't knock. Neighbors don't knock. Kids sure as hell don't knock. I wiped my hands on my old cardigan, shoulders aching, and walked toward the door, every step slow, cautious, like walking toward a memory. When I opened it, my heart damn near stumbled. A young boy, maybe 15, stood there, skinny, nervous, hood pulled up, eyes brown and soft like he was carrying sorrow he didn't earn. Hi, he said, voice cracking. Are you Miss Evie? Blinked. Baby, who are you? He shifted his weight, stared at his shoes. My name's Caleb. I live 3 houses down. My grandma used to talk about you all the time. My breath caught. Your grandma. Mary. He nodded. Mary had passed away 4 months ago, my only friend on this street. The only woman who'd check on me every Sunday with biscuits she pretended were homemade. Store-bought, but I never told her I knew. What are you doing here, sweetheart? I whispered. He swallowed hard. I think I need help. Something inside me, something motherly, something ancient, flickered awake. Come inside, baby. It's cold out. Caleb followed me in, glancing around my quiet house like he was walking into a memory he'd seen before. I poured him hot chocolate, extra marshmallows like I used to make for my own boys, and he wrapped his hands around the mug like he hadn't felt warmth in weeks. You okay? He asked. He didn't answer at first, just stared at the steam rising from the cup. Then he mumbled. My mom, she works nights, and she sleeps all day, and I don't know. Sometimes the house feels too empty, you know. Lord. That hit so close to home I swear my ribs shook. He nodded. Yeah, baby. I know emptiness real well. He looked up at me. Really looked. Grandma said you took care of everybody. She said you're the kind of lady who doesn't know how to stop loving people. I felt a sting in my chest. Your grandma talked too much, I joked weakly. He smiled, small but real. Then he whispered. I miss her. And I don't really got nobody to talk to. Something broke open inside me. Something warm. Something I thought was dead. Well, I said softly, you got me now. That same night, after Caleb left, I sat in my kitchen thinking about life's strange ways. My kids, my own flesh and blood, couldn't spare 10 minutes for me. But a lonely boy with grieving eyes had knocked on my door like fate sent him. I took a deep breath, picked up my phone, and against every promise I made to myself, I dialed my daughter. Rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then finally, Mom. Everything okay? Her voice was distracted, tired, almost annoyed. I swallowed the ache. I just wanted to hear your voice, sweetheart. Mom, I'm at dinner. Can I call you later? Sure, baby. Click. She hung up. Just like that. No, love you. No, you good. Nothing. I stared at the phone, feeling the kind of loneliness that wraps around your heart like barbed wire. But then, something different happened. For the first time in years. I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart. I didn't clutch my chest like I was breaking. Instead, I whispered, "Evie, you've survived worse. You'll survive this too." The next morning, I found myself standing in front of the old mirror in my hallway, the same one that once reflected birthday balloons, messy-haired kids, burnt pancakes, and decades of love. But today, I saw a woman I barely recognized. Wrinkles that held stories nobody knew, eyes tired from waiting for phone calls that never came, hands that raised 3 kids, buried a husband, fed neighbors, prayed for everyone but herself. I whispered to the reflection, "When's the last time someone asked if you're okay?" The mirror, like everyone else, stayed silent. And that's when it happened. That quiet, small, undeniable truth. I had spent decades being a mother, a wife, a caretaker. But never, not once, a woman with her own life. I pressed my fingers against the mirror. I raised everyone, but nobody raised me. 2 days later there was another knock. Same gentle rhythm. I opened the door and Caleb stood there again. Hands shoved in his pockets, backpack slung low. "Hey, Miss Evie. Can I sit here for a while?" "Course you can, baby. Come on." He stepped inside, quieter than last time. Something was wrong. I could feel it like pressure in the air before a storm. "You wanna talk about it?" "Yes." He hesitated. Then he whispered so softly I barely heard him. "My mom's boyfriend moved in." My stomach dropped. I leaned closer. "Is he hurting you?" Caleb's lip trembled. He yells a lot. Slams stuff. And last night he threw a plate. Not at me, but it scared me bad. Oh Lord. I felt that mother instinct rise like fire. "Baby, listen to me," I said, voice slow, steady. "You are safe here. You hear me? Safe." His eyes filled with tears he tried to hide. "No one else cares," he choked out. "Nobody even notices." I don't know if it was the way he said nobody, or the way his voice cracked, or the way his shoulders sagged like he'd been carrying a grown man's sadness in a child's body. But something inside me whispered, "This boy came to you for a reason. Don't fail him. Don't let him feel what you felt." That night, after Caleb left with a bag of homemade cookies, I sat in my rocking chair thinking about him, about Mary, about my kids, about the cycle of neglect that keeps spinning generation after generation. I whispered to myself, "Evie, you know loneliness like your own damn shadow. Don't let that boy drown in it too." And for the first time in years, felt purpose. Not the exhausted, draining kind I had for my kids, but the kind that comes from doing something because it's right, not because it's expected. The next morning my phone rang. Not a spam call. Not a telemarketer. My son Josh. My heart stuttered. Answered. "Hey, Mom. Listen." His voice was awkward. "Anna said you called the other day. Is everything okay?" Closed my eyes. There it was again. Concern not because he cared, but because someone else told him to pretend he did. "I'm all right," I said, voice soft. Good. "Well, I'm kinda busy, but..." "Josh." I didn't raise my voice, but I said his name with a steadiness that startled even me. He paused. "Yeah. I don't need anything from you," I said. "You hear me? Not your time, not your help, not your pity. I'm okay." He was silent. Completely silent. Then he said, "Mom, are you mad at us?" "No," I whispered. "Just finally awake." Before he could respond, before guilt could twist the moment, hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from weakness. From clarity. From truth. From finally choosing myself. After I hung up on Josh, the silence in my house felt different. Not heavy. Not lonely. Not choking me the way it used to. This silence felt like someone had cracked open a window inside my chest and let fresh air blow through. I sat at my kitchen table, fingers tapping the wood grain, heart beating slow but steady. For years I'd been begging for crumbs. Crumbs of time. Crumbs of love. Crumbs of attention from the 3 people I raised with everything I had. But in that small moment after hanging up, I realized something. I wasn't starving anymore, I was finally done eating crumbs. And Lord, that feeling. It tasted like freedom and grief mixed together. Around 4 p.m., the sun dipped low enough to touch the tops of my front porch railing. That warm, golden light, the kind Mary used to call heaven's last smile of the day, filled my living room. I looked around my quiet house and whispered, "You deserve more than dust and memories, Evie." So I did something I never do. I grabbed my purse, put on my old denim jacket, slid into my soft sneakers, brushed my hair, even added a little perfume I hadn't worn in years. And I stepped outside. No reason, no errands. Just me. A small act of rebellion against the version of myself I'd been for decades. As I walked down the street, neighbors waved. They always did. But today I actually waved back. When I reached the corner, I saw a familiar shape sitting on the curb. Caleb. Backpack beside him, knees pulled to his chest. Face hidden. My heart clenched. I walked up slow. Soft. Careful. "Baby. Why were you sittin' out here all alone?" He sniffed but didn't look up. "Didn't wanna go home yet," he muttered. "Just needed air." Lord. That boy's voice carried a weight no 15-year-old should be dragging around. "Come walk with me," I said gently. He stood, grabbing his backpack like it was armor. And just like that we walked together. Quiet, peaceful, 2 lonely souls pretending the world wasn't as heavy as it really was. We ended up on the little bridge over Miller Creek, the one with peeling paint and initials carved into the rails. He leaned against it, staring at the water. "Miss Evie," he said quietly, "can I tell you something? Like, and you won't think I'm stupid." I turned to him, hand over my heart. "Baby, nothing you ever say is stupid. Not to me." He swallowed hard. I feel like nobody'd even notice if I disappeared." My breath hitched. I reached out, cupped his cheek gently. "Hey, look at me, sweetheart." He looked. Eyes full of fear and loneliness and a hurt too deep for his age. "You matter," I said, voice trembling. "And not just a little. Look, you hear me? You matter to me." His eyes brimmed with tears. "Why? I'm not even your kid." I smiled, sad but warm. "Honey, sometimes family ain't the people who share your blood. Sometimes it's the people who share your pain." He blinked, stunned. Then he whispered, "Mom never says stuff like that." And I pulled him into a hug. A real one. Firm, safe, steady. He clung to me like he'd been waiting years for someone to hold him that way. And maybe he had. Later that night, after I walked him home and made sure he got inside okay, I returned to my quiet house. Still wearing my denim jacket. Still smelling like wind and creek water and unexpected purpose. My phone rang. This time, it was Daniel, the middle child. The one who always felt half present, half distracted. Answered. "Hey, Mom," he said, breathless like he called out of obligation. "Listen. Josh said you hung up on him. Are you okay?" I exhaled slowly. "Baby, I'm fine." He paused. "Mom, did something happen?" "Yes," I said honestly. "I woke up." Silence. "Mom, we love you. You know that, right?" "Do I?" I thought. Do I really? "I love you too," I said. "But love without effort just feels like a habit." He didn't know what to say. None of them do when the woman who gave them everything stops begging for the bare minimum. "Mom, don't be dramatic," he muttered in a half-laugh. My jaw tightened. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being honest." Another long silence. "Well," he finally said, I'll call you later." "You always say that," I whispered. He hung up. No later ever came. That night I didn't cry. I didn't curl up in my chair or stare at the walls waiting for my phone to ring. Instead, I felt something shifting in me, like the old version of myself, the one who had been waiting at windows and picking up phones mid-ring, was slowly fading away. Pain doesn't disappear, just changes shape. And mine was slowly turning into strength. Around midnight, unable to sleep, I pulled out a stack of old stationery pages and began writing, not to send but to purge. "Dear Josh, you used to hold my hand whenever you were scared. I don't know when you let go. Dear Daniel, you were always quiet, but you used to hear me. When did you stop listening? Dear Anna, my baby girl, the one who promised she'd never forget me. Where are you now? And then the hardest one. Dear Evie, when did you stop mattering to yourself?" That letter broke me, but it also rebuilt me. The next morning, I opened my front door to grab the newspaper and almost tripped over something. A small weathered shoebox. Taped shut. My name written in messy handwriting. "For Miss Evie, from Mary." My breath caught. Hands shaking, I carried it inside and sat on my couch. I peeled the tape slowly, reverently, like opening a memory that might crumble in my hands. Inside was a handwritten note. "If something happens to me, give this to Evie. She's the strongest woman I know, even when she forgets it." Tears blurred my eyes. Inside the box were a faded photograph of me and Mary on her porch, or a little prayer card with the words, "You are not alone," and a sealed envelope labeled, "For when you feel like nobody needs you." Opened it. Inside was one sentence. "The world still needs your heart, Evie. It just ain't the people you think." I covered my mouth with my hand. 'Cause suddenly, Caleb's knock didn't feel random. It felt like Mary's last gift. Her last nudge. Her way of saying, "I know you're hurting, but keep going, someone still needs you." The day after I opened Mary's box, I woke up with a strange feeling in my chest. Not sadness, not hope. Something in between. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table staring at nothing, letting the steam drift up like thoughts I couldn't quite catch. That's when I noticed something taped to my front door window. Note. Crooked. Rushed. Written in messy handwriting. I walked over, peeled it off, and squinted at the words. "Miss Evie, thank you for yesterday, Caleb." My lips parted. It wasn't a big note. Not fancy. Not flowery. But Lord, it was the first time in years someone thanked me for anything. And I felt that thank you settle into the quiet places of my heart like sunlight on cold skin. I held it against my chest. "Mary, you old angel," I whispered. "You're still looking out for me, ain't you?" Later that afternoon I heard shouting outside. Not angry shouting, just loud, careless talking, the kind that rattles windows. When I peered through the curtains, I saw my daughter Anna's car pulling into my driveway. My breath caught. She got out, sunglasses on, designer purse hanging from her shoulder, irritation already written on her face like she'd rehearsed it. She knocked. Loud, sharp, impatient. "Open the door." "Oh my God, Mom," she snapped, pushing her hair back. "Why didn't you answer your phone? I've been calling." "You called twice," I said calmly. "Both times while I was asleep." "Well, I came because Josh and Dan said you're acting weird." I almost laughed. "Weird," I repeated. "Because I told you the truth." Mom, you're being dramatic. You hung up on Josh. You hurt his feelings. I stepped aside and let her in. Sweetheart, I said, slow, steady. You don't get to talk about hurt feelings. Not when I've spent half my life swallowing mine. She froze, surprised. I'd never spoken to her like that. Ever. Mom, she started, irritated again. We're busy. We have lives. You can't expect us to drop everything. I don't. I cut in gently but firmly. I just expect a little effort. Little love. A little "how are you, Mom?" Once in a while. She rolled her eyes. I can't deal with this guilt trip stuff right now. Then don't, I said. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not begging anyone to stay. She stared at me. Not with anger. With shock. Like she'd just seen me as a person instead of a background character. Mom, you okay? She asked, softer this time. I'm learning to be, I said. She lowered her gaze, almost ashamed. But then, as always, she rushed. I gotta go. Logan's waiting in the car. And she walked out. Just like that. But here's the strange part. For the first time ever, her leaving didn't break me. That evening I kept glancing at the clock. 5:30.6:00.6:45. Usually around that time I'd hear Caleb's soft knock on my door. But not tonight. The house felt quiet in a way I didn't like. Too still, too cold, too empty. By 8 p.m. my stomach twisted with worry. What if something happened? What if his mom's boyfriend came home drunk? What if the yelling turned into something else? I tried sitting, standing, reading, cleaning. Nothing worked. My mind kept drifting back to him. Finally I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. 3 houses down. The light in his living room was flickering, shadows moving behind the curtains. Raised voices. Loud. Dark. Holy. My heart hammered. I walked closer. Slow enough to be careful, quick enough to be terrified. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. A crash. Something breaking. Then a boy's voice yelling. Stop. Just stop. My body moved before my brain even caught up. I ran up the steps and banged on the door. Hey! Open up. Open this door right now. The shouting inside went silent. Then footsteps. Heavy ones. The door ripped open and a tall man with red, angry eyes stared down at me. What the hell do you want, lady? My voice didn't shake. I'm here for the boy. He laughed. Mean, bitter, cruel. You ain't his mama. I'm not, I said. But I sure as hell care about him. Which is more than I can say for you. His jaw tightened. He stepped forward like he was trying to intimidate me. You should leave. Mind your damn business. I didn't move. Not an inch. Sweetheart, I said calmly. I lived with a man who yelled just like you. That I buried him. That I ain't scared of you. His eyes darkened. And then, behind him, Caleb appeared. Eyes red. Breathing uneven. Hands shaking. Miss Evie, his voice cracked. I reached out a hand. Come on, baby. Let's go. The man snapped. He ain't going nowhere. But Caleb didn't hesitate. He walked straight to me. Straight past that man. Straight into safety. And I placed my arm around his shoulders, shielding him with my body like I'd shielded my own sons 1,000 times. As we walked away, the man shouted after us. You can't take him. I didn't look back. I just yelled. Watch me. Inside my house, Caleb sat on the couch, knees pulled to his chest, trying not to cry. My heart ached seeing him so small, so scared, so fragile. I sat beside him. Baby, are you hurt? He shook his head. No, he gets mad. Look, everything sets him off. You deserve better than that, I whispered. No one cares, he muttered. Mom doesn't stop him. And he says I should man up to. My jaw clenched. I gently turned his face toward mine. Listen to me, sweetheart, I said softly. There ain't nothing weak about being scared in a house that hurts you. His eyes filled. No one ever tells me that. Well, I'm telling you now. He sniffed. Why do you care so much? And I told him the truth. The world failed me when I needed somebody. I won't let it fail you too. For the first time that night, he leaned his head on my shoulder. And my house, my quiet, empty, silent house, felt alive again, warm again, needed again. Around 10 p.m. my phone rang. I saw the caller ID. Caleb's school counselor. My stomach twisted. Answered. Ma'am, she said gently. Caleb listed you as an emergency contact today. My throat tightened. I didn't know he did that. He said he trusts you, she continued. Said you make him feel safe. I wiped my eyes, overwhelmed. The counselor spoke again. Would it be okay if we set up a meeting tomorrow? I think Caleb could benefit from having you involved. My hand trembled against my chest. Yes, I whispered. Yes, of course. Thank you, she said warmly. He talks about you a lot, Miss Carter. And after we hung up, I sat there. A woman who raised 3 children who barely remember her, yet became the safe place for a child who wasn't hers. And I whispered, Mary, you knew what you were doing, didn't you? When Caleb finally fell asleep that night, curled on the couch, blanket tucked under his chin, I sat there watching him breathe. Something inside me shifted, warm and unfamiliar. I had raised kids before. I fed them, clothed them, patched their wounds, prayed over their futures. But none of them ever looked at me the way Caleb did today. Like I mattered. Like I was his safe place. Like he finally found someone who wasn't going to disappear. I took a slow breath. Damn, my whole life I thought loving people meant they would love me back. Turns out, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they grow up and leave you without even glancing back. Sometimes they forget who held them through the nights they cried. But this little boy, this sweet, broken, brave little soul, he reminded me that love doesn't disappear. It just finds new places to land. The next morning, the school counselor called again. Miss Evie? I just wanted to say, he talks about you a lot. You're the first adult he's trusted in years. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I'm here for him. For as long as he needs. There was a pause. Ma'am, I think he needs you more than he can say. After the call, I went to wake Caleb. He blinked up at me, hair all messy, blanket twisted around him. Miss Evie, did they say something bad about me? Oh no, baby. I brushed his hair back gently. They said something beautiful. What? He whispered. That you trust me. And that's the greatest gift anybody's given me in a long, long time. He stared at me, eyes glassy. No one ever wanted me around like that before, he murmured. Well, I want you around. I'm not going nowhere. He pressed his little forehead against my arm. I feel safe with you. Those simple words broke something open inside me. Decades of loneliness, of giving and getting nothing back, of being taken for granted by my own kids. It all cracked, letting light pour through. I held him close and whispered, Baby, you saved me too. You don't even know it. He sniffed. How? I smiled through tears. Because you reminded me that my heart still works. For the first time in so long. Felt seen. Needed. Loved. Not for what I could give, not for chores, not for sacrifices, but for who I was. And as I tucked him into his shoes for school, he grabbed my hand suddenly. "Miss Evie, when I get older, I'm not gonna leave you. I promise." My throat tightened so hard I couldn't speak. He meant it. He said it with his whole tiny heart. I kneeled down so our eyes met. "Baby, even if life takes you far away, you gave me the one thing I prayed for my whole life." "What?" "A reason to keep going." He hugged me then, full force, arms around my neck, small body shaking. And I held him like every broken piece of both our lives finally fit together. Right there in that quiet hallway, sunlight warming our faces, I realized something powerful. Family isn't blood. Family is who stays, who shows up, who cares, who doesn't leave when life gets messy. And Caleb, he was mine in every way that mattered. That day, as I watched him walk into school with his backpack bouncing, I whispered, "Lord, thank you. You sent me a child when I had none left." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel abandoned, I didn't feel emptied, I didn't feel forgotten. I felt chosen. By a little boy who needed me. And by life finally giving me something back. Not everyone you raise will stay. But the ones who return are the ones who truly carry your love inside them. Thanks for being here with me today. If you want more stories, more lessons, and more heart, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll be waiting for you in the next one.